Let's continue here on the program. We're joined by a gentleman, as a matter of fact, in his 5th season as the head men's basketball coach at Howard. The Bison, back-to-back MEAC Tournament champions, and came up just a bit short in the NCAA Tournament to Wagner. Fought hard, but the Bison program in good hands, on the right track. Kenny Blakeney, again in his 5th season as the head men's basketball coach of the Bison, joins us here on Box to Row. Coach Blakeney, welcome back to the program. And congratulations on a really good season.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it. And it's so good to be back on the show.
Absolutely. Let's start with the Wagner game taking place, a tough loss on Tuesday. The Bison fought in this game, got down, pulled it to within 3, had a couple of opportunities at 3-pointers to tie the game at the end, just didn't quite go in for you. Your thoughts on that Wagner game?
Well, firstly, I'd like to commend Wagner and and Coach Copeland. I think they really came out and played. They were ready. They were prepared, and did a nice job. I think that they earned and they deserved the game, quite honestly. But in saying that, I'm really proud of our guys and the effort that they put into the Wagner game and the effort that they gave all year. We had just had a whirlwind of 3 games down in Norfolk that we played Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We got back to D.C. after watching our women's game in the championship game down in Norfolk at about 11 o'clock. And then that Sunday was a quick turnaround. We had the selection show, found out probably around 6:45, 7 o'clock who we were going to play. And it was time to get prepared for Wagner. So that next morning at 8:30, we're on a bus headed to the airport to go fly to Dayton to try to get ready and play Wagner. So extremely quick turnaround. We had a lot to try to get done in a small period of time. And, I thought our guys came out with they were ready to play. They had great energy and fought. But I just think Wagner was just too much on that day and the better team on that day for us to get the victory.
Take us through the last, 14 seconds, just the sequence, and you guys had some really good looks at the basket.
Well, we had 2 plays in mind that we wanted to run. Their young man was at the free throw line, and if we were down 2, we were going to run 1 play versus if we were down 3, trying to run something to get us a 3-pointer. And we came down 3. We ran a play that we were able, I think, to execute to get great looks. And 2 of our 3 looks, I think, were big time looks. And I would, if I was a betting guy, I would put money on those shots any day of the week. But unfortunately, we came up on the short end of the stick by missing those shots. But I love the confidence that our guys had to take those shots. And was thinking of the last one. Last year we beat Norfolk State down in the conference tournament with Marcus Dockery making that same shot from the same place pretty much a year apart. So, like I said, super proud of our guys, the energy that they put into that game, the effort, the way that they played in the last, 8 minutes to really give us a chance to have those shots to count to win the game was something that I'm extremely proud of.
I think when you looked at the MEAC tournament, I had a chance to be right there when your team defeated Morgan State. To me, when I look at the teams you defeated, the 3 teams you defeated in the MEAC tournament, first Morgan, then Norfolk State, then Delaware State, to me, the along with yourself, the best 3 or 4 teams in the MEAC, outside of yourself, that to me was the best 3 teams going into the MEAC tournament. Speak to that. Those were 3 tough games to win, including against the regular season champion, Norfolk State. Oh, you couldn't hear me? Oh, okay. Can you hear? You can't hear me? Let me do this. I'm going to remove myself and come back in. All right. Can you hear me now? Okay. Now I can't hear you. Hold on. Let me remove you from the stage. I'm going to bring you right back. Let's see. Okay. All right. Can you hear me? Okay. You can hear me. I can't hear you. I'm not. Do you mind jumping out and logging right back in? Can you do that? Okay, if you can do that, we should be straight. I don't know why it does that. Okay, there we go. I'm not sure. I don't know what happened, but anyway, I got you now.
Thank you, bro.
Okay,
Appreciate
no
you.
problem. So you didn't hear my. Okay, so let me repeat the question. You didn't hear it. Okay.
No, sir.
All right. So Coach Blakeney, when I look at the three teams you defeated in the MEAC tournament, you're looking at Morgan State, Norfolk State, Delaware State. To me, maybe the best three teams coming into the tournament with the way that they were playing down the stretch. Although you were playing some really good basketball as well. Speak to defeating those three teams, tough teams, including the regular season champ in Norfolk State.
Yeah, well, our first game was such a, when I was looking at the pairings, Morgan is such a dangerous team, from having a guy like Will Thomas that, sometimes he turns into Kevin Garnett and he becomes impossible to check. I mean, at our game at Morgan, he did everything besides wear a Batman cape or a Superman cape and just absolutely destroyed us. And, they have the transfer from Boston College that is explosive as a scorer. And they have two guards that are just as good as any guards in our league that are tough to guard. They're explosive in terms of their speed and quickness. And they put pressure on the rim and the paint and can also shoot it and knock down the deep ball as well. So, I was really nervous about them. Kevin Brodus does a terrific job. They run that Princeton offense that if you're not disciplined and you're not alert, can really, put you on your heels with all the back doors and the cutting stuff that they do. So we were well prepared for them and played great and were able to advance against, Norfolk State and a terrific coach, Robert Jones' team. Norfolk State had won both games against us this year, home and away, and had just met them a week before. So it was a great opportunity for us to come in and try to play our best game against them and try to defeat them. And it was nick and tuck. They had I think a little bit of a cushion at halftime, a 4 or 6 point lead at halftime. And we came out in the second half and just really fought and competed. And to our credit, we were playing the whole tournament with pretty much 6 to 7 guys. One of our guys, Elijah Williams, is a walk-on, brother of Jelani Williams. And he had to go in the game at the clutch when Seth Towns fouled out with about 7 minutes left. And he was terrific the rest of the game. Just so proud of how our guys, I guess, were connected. They played together. And, defensively, we did things on that end to really, I think, secure the victory against the regular season champions here in the MEAC. Then fast forward to Del State, great coach team by Coach Stan Waterman. And you're right. They were as hot as any team in the conference and did such a great job to advance all the way through to the conference final. And what a game. I mean, we were up a little bit in the first half and they scratched and clawed and took a 6-point lead. And, down the stretch, I think the last probably 11 minutes to go or 10 minutes to go, up until about 30 seconds ago, we were able to limit them to 5 points. So sometimes, when we were looking at it and talking about it, our defense that, was a little bit up and down during the year was the thing that I think gave us opportunities to win all 3 of those games down in Norfolk. So really proud of our guys and the effort, but the connectedness and the toughness that they showed, especially playing with only 5 or 6 players over, those 3 days.
Kenny Blakeney in his 5th season as the head men's basketball coach at Howard as he joins us here on Box to Row. You mentioned up and down. That was sort of how the season was. Like it was some ebbs and flows. You had some winning streaks, some losing streaks, it almost had everything during this season. Was there sort of a turning point? Maybe that Morgan game, I think February 7th, was there a turning point in the season that got you back on the trajectory in terms of where you ultimately ended up as MEAC tournament champs?
Well, we ended up probably with about 82 or 83 games missed with guys that are in our rotation. So the injuries, we had 15 concussions. unheard of, and we're not even a contact sport really, to have 15 concussions in one season. We had 3 guys with concussions that just got off a concussion protocol going into the Wagner game that were, 2 of those guys and all 3 of those guys at some point in time had started for us this year. So we never had the continuity that, from practice or games to really, I think, stay consistent like we really wanted to be throughout the year. The turning point actually was the injuries, and it gave us an opportunity with a small roster to really gel, I think, and play well and have a little bit of some continuity for those last maybe 10 games or so down the stretch leading into the conference tournament.
When you look at this team, you got talent. Like, I know a lot of people talk about Seth Towns. I mean, Bryce Harris is absolutely unbelievable. He's listed as a guard, but he's really like a forward. Like, he plays so big. I believe 6'4", got good size, plays a lot down low, finishes well around the basket. He was your leading scorer this year. Speak to, what he brings to this Bison team.
I said in the press conference out in Dayton that Bryce has been our most important recruit that we've had since I've been here at Howard University. And, we have something called the energy generating behaviors. There's 18 of them. And basically there's 18 things that you can bring to our team that doesn't require talent. And Bryce has a lot of talent, but he also embodies all 18 of those things. And it's, things that we really feel help you win games. Like, can you run the court in 6 seconds? Can you offensive rebound? Can you defensive rebound? Can you contest shots? Can you deflect passes? All the little things that probably go unnoticed in a game outside of points and rebounds. Bryce really embodies and amplifies all of those EGBs. And like I said, there's no other kid in our program, in our system, that has done as much as he's done since he's been here. 3 years, 3 winning seasons. I thought he should have been the player of the year in the conference, but arguably Thomas had a great year as well down at Norfolk State, and their team won the regular season conference. But just such an important young man to Howard University. He on the campus, he's in a fraternity, he's in the business school. He's sort of like the mayor of Howard University. I don't think that there's one thing on this campus that this young man hasn't excelled on since he's been here. So I am a huge Bryce Harris fan, and someone I know is going to be uber successful when he's done playing basketball.
Does Seth Towns have any more eligibility?
Weirdly enough, we think he does have 1 year, but my advice to him is that he should go and play pro ball, try to get as much as he can out of his body that has not done, he's a guy that at 26, his body's probably at 36. So he needs to get as much basketball in as he possibly can. I mean, the effort that it takes him to prepare for practice every day, to prepare for games, it is, it really is admirable to see him do all the things that he does on a daily basis to get himself prepared to play. And then once he gets on the court, he never wants to come out. He loves basketball. He loves competing. And I couldn't be more proud of a young man and what he has really sacrificed and brought to our team and to our university.
Couple of more thoughts with Kenny Blakeney, the head men's basketball coach at Howard in his 5th season. Listen, Coach Blakeney, I mean, you grew up in Washington, and this is the thing. Like, it's one thing to play for, you played for Morgan, and a couple of guys have, but you played for Morgan Wooten at Dematha. Then you also played for Coach K at Duke. Like, that doesn't, I mean, I guess, a couple of Danny Ferry's, I guess one also, right? But that doesn't happen. A lot of guys don't get to play with 2 legendary coaches on the high school and in the collegiate level. And you won 2 national championships at Duke. Speak to what both Coach Wooten, rest in peace to Coach Wooten, and Coach K have meant to you in your career.
No, thank you for asking. It's I when you talk about that, and I can know you did your homework by knowing Danny's the other older player that played at.
I'm a Washingtonian. I'm a Washingtonian.
So it means a lot that I know that you've done your homework on that. both of those guys, as you said, when I graduated, and I know when Coach Wooten retired, he was the winningest high school coach in the history of high school basketball. A guy that had been selected into Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. And at some point in time, I know every young man that had gone through his program had received a basketball scholarship. But in saying that, he's a Hall of Fame coach, but he's a Hall of Fame human as well when he was here on this earth with us. And, the guidance, the mentorship, being a educator at Dematha for so many years, he was all about the right things. And the growth, the maturity, and the teaching was first and foremost what he was about, especially with dealing with young men that were at an age from 14 to 18. I couldn't have had a better experience playing for him and having him be a mentor to me when he was alive, and still very close with his family. His son Brendan came to see us play a couple times because Rod Balanis, who's on our staff, and Brendan and myself were all teammates at Dematha at some point in time. And I probably have the only honor of saying that I played with both Wooten kids, with Brendan and Coach Joy Wooten, who's now the chair of the McDonald's All-American Committee and the high school coach at O'Connell. So I've been really fortunate enough to be touched by Coach Wooten, and his leadership and his teaching has always resonated with me as I've moved forward throughout this business. And then having a chance to play for Coach K, I mean, it's, again, when he retired, the winningest college coach in the history of college basketball, and a Naismith Hall of Famer, our Olympic coach, 6-time, 5-time national champion, just so many accolades that you can list. And to say that I sat in his classroom for not 4 but 5 years as a redshirt at Duke is, I had a chance to sit in the best 2 classrooms that you could possibly sit through as a basketball player and as a student athlete. Truly blessed and humbled to say that I've had that opportunity, and hopefully I'm doing the service that those guys did to me, that I have that responsibility of teaching our student athletes and working with them to be a mentor and I guess a coach to them.
Very well said. You, around this time last year, you and I were in Houston for the HBCU All-Star game. You were one of the coach for one of the teams, and you talked about getting to this point, and you soaked all of that up, because at the end of the day, it took you 24 years from the time you were an assistant coach to become the head coach at Howard. And I know you soaked all of that up in terms of everything that was going on in Houston and so forth. Speak to that. I think you said to me, if I remember correctly, you had your own company, apparel company, but you were at one of the universities in New York, and maybe at Columbia, paying you like $50,000 a year in New York City, right? You're surviving. You're trying to survive at that.
Well, actually, I was working for free. When I took the job at Columbia, I took it as a volunteer. My journey is so different and unique, and I'm so blessed that I had a different and unique journey. Being from Dematha, being from Duke, a lot of people would assume that a lot has been given to me with that background and that pedigree. And I've earned every single thing. My first job, I was a restricted earnings coach where I made $3,000. When you look at it from a financial point of view, I was in the Atlantic 10 for 1 year, and I think I might have made $60,000 there. But all the jobs that I had as an assistant coach, I never made more than $42,000 or $45,000. So it was a grind, and it was a labor of love. And I always wanted to coach because I felt like I could help young men become better men. And that was the goal of being a coach. I wanted to be a person that could mentor, teach, guide, and be a big brother to the younger generation that was coming along. So when they moved on, I say this to our guys, that they're more healthier when they leave than when they came. And that's so important to me. So last year in Houston, I was really touched by, the honor that you gave me by being the coach of the year, the honor that the HBCU All-Stars gave me by being the coach of the year. It choked me up, and it was emotional because I didn't get into it for those reasons. And like you said, 24 years from the time I guess I graduated college and or has been an assistant and gotten a head job. It wasn't like, I had to compete and beat out a lot of people for this job at Howard. I wasn't their first choice, and I know my AD doesn't love me saying that, but I told him if he hired me that I would be the best hire he ever had and ever made, and I hope I'm keeping my word with that.
No doubt about it. Last thought, being from the area, right? And Howard. I mean, look, I my both my parents went to Howard. My father's is a Hall of Famer. Athletically, just a challenge. Okay, I mean, look, the last tournament championship in men's basketball was 91, 92 before you won it last year. So what does it mean to be from Washington, to have known about that very last championship until last year, and to have this Howard program on the trajectory that it is as back-to-back MEAC tournament champions?
Yeah, it's surreal, to be honest. So many student athletes when they're in high school grow up in the DMV and they don't think that Howard is serious about athletics. And I was one of those student athletes in high school that didn't think Howard was serious about athletics. You look at the history of the infrastructure here, and you look at, some of the seasons and the record of the teams that were here previously before we were here. And, there's not a lot of tradition and history in terms of winning. And, I had a chance to kind of have a sneak peek being at Harvard University with Coach Tom Yamaker that took over the job when he was hired, that, Harvard hadn't gone to the big dance or won the Ivy League tournament in like probably 60 to 70 years. Almost. And to see how he used the brand and the academic reputation of Harvard to build a basketball program was something that I emulated here at Howard. It was, using the culture, the history, the tradition of Howard, talking about our alums and their accomplishments. It was one of those things like, there's been so many things that have been done here on the campus of Howard. First Supreme Court Justice, first Black Supreme Court Justice, first Black VP, the first Black mayor of New York City, the first Black governor of Virginia, the first Black woman to vote in a major election. You can go down the list of accomplishments, but there never has been a substantial winning Division I basketball program here. I know A.B. Williamson did a phenomenal job when he was here at Howard. But to say that we can come in and kind of take that baton from where he left it and now move it along even more has been great, man. The reception here in DC has been phenomenal. We talk about, with the 5 or 6 Division I schools that are here in the DMV, you have Georgetown, University of Maryland, George Mason, American University, George Washington, and ourselves. We're the winningest Division I program here in the DMV over the last 3 years. So three winning seasons in a row hasn't happened, I don't think, in the Division I era, or if it did, it's been since like 84, 85, back-to-back, tournament championships. That hasn't happened here in the Division I level. So we're doing exactly what kind of the Dream Factory's vision was when we set out. And it's so neat that, the university, our alums, our student athletes, and the community here in the DMV are along with us in this journey that we have now.
Real quick, I did say last thought, but I just had to say this from last year. How crazy is it to play in the tournament last year, lose the game, and then have the Vice President of the United States in the locker room after the game? That's bananas.
Yeah, it's pretty neat, but that's what Howard University is about. Last year with our social justice project, Black Maternal Health, we did things with the Vice President that, we were at different rallies with her. We were at the White House with her at certain points in times. It was just really a neat experience. And that's what That's why I wanted to be the head coach at Howard, because you can position your program, you can position your young men for opportunities here that stretch outside of the gates of Howard University. So you can touch the White House, you can touch Capitol Hill, you can touch Embassy Row. There's so many different things that are here that you can use as educational tools to expose your young men to, that at the end of the day, position them for opportunities for the next 40 to 50 years after they're done playing basketball.
Again, Kenny Blakeney in his 5th season as the head men's basketball coach at Howard. The Bison back-to-back MEAC Tournament champions. Had another exciting season there in our nation's capital. Coach Blakeney, appreciate the time. We look forward to what the Bison are going to do in 2024-25.
Thank you, my friend, and always